everything we have been doing here for more than 5 years is 100% preparation for what's happening right now. So don't distrust yourself. If you're new, you may be like, wow, how do I catch up? And I'm like, don't worry. Hang out here, read the books, download a few classes if you're drawn that way that are on the website. You will catch up fast. The timing right now is like rapid grow. People often only fully open up to things when they desperately need them. That's just the way humans are wired. This stuff is now absolutely in harmony with what many people need to keep their heads on and to actually even flourish. So, it's funny because I remember when Change Me Prayers, when that book first came out in 2015, there were people that said to me, my God, I don't want to be changed. It took me years to figure out how great I am just as I am. Why'd you write this stupid book? And I'm like, because things will come in your life that the ego will have no idea how to do. And no matter how much you try to get strong and pull up your big girl or boy panties or whatever the heck people advise, it's not going to work. You're going to need something greater than the ego to align with and to know how, on a very practical, specific level, how to do it. Not just a nice thought that someone's throwing out there with a list of do's and don'ts or whatever the hell is out there. You're going to need the practical tools that will arise from your own inner knowing, and it will often arise from simply saying to this inner divine, change me into somebody who knows how to do this. That was the purpose of that book. And all of a sudden, there's all these people writing me going, oh my God, I get it now. I have to ask to be changed into somebody who can do this because I feel this down to my bones. If you allow this situation, no matter where you are or who you are, your ascension being, all of us together, if you allow the situation to transform you, that is the nature of surrender and offering. If you say it's not happening as an accident, it's not happening because there's a vengeful God that wants to punish me, this is happening for the wildly fast growth of my soul and for the evolution of the planet, and could not happen any other way, perhaps, then you can lean into it. Then you can actually, it sounds insane, but you can actually relax into it, even amidst the pressures and the stress, because you're no longer saying this shouldn't be happening. And that's what the Change Me Prayers do. They start to say, change me into somebody who can embrace this. I know that sounds nuts. You can even say, change me into somebody who can be grateful for this. I've actually been doing that. And it's very powerful because I feel in my bones that this will be saving the planet. What comes out of this, not just the lowering emissions, but the whole rapid grow evolution of consciousness that will happen on this planet that possibly could not have happened any other way, will emerge from this, where people are no longer only thinking of themselves and what they want and what they need and how to be safe, but it will become a world consciousness, which is what all the planets going into Aquarius by 2023 and 2024 are about. So in the meantime, we're going to be teaching this shit because this will carry you across. No lie. And so for starters, I want to actually, before we do a meditation, I want to read, somebody put this up on the Facebook forum page, and all kinds of fabulous stuff has been going up there. If you don't check it out, it's so good. And they posted this thing from something called the Council of the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. So this is from Native American elders, female elders. And I just have to read it to you because if you listen, if you didn't see it and you listen, you'll hear how close it is to what we're doing. This is very close to what the Native American elders are saying. All right. As you move through these changing times, be easy on yourself and be easy on one another. You're at the beginning of something new. You're learning a new way of being. And you will find that you are working less in the masculine yang models that you are used to. You know the masculine yang models. Get it, I want it, I need it, I have to have it, chase it, all of that. We've been talking about it forever. You will stop working so hard at getting from point A to point B the way that you have in the past. But instead, you will spend more time experiencing yourself as part of the whole and your place in it. Instead of traveling to a goal out there, you will voyage deeper inside yourself. Your mother's grandmother knew how to do this. Your ancestors long ago knew how to do this. They knew the power of the feminine principle. And because you carry their DNA in your body, this wisdom and this way of being is within you. Call on it. Call it up. Invite your ancestors in. As the masculine yang-based habits begin to decay and the institutions on this planet begin to crumble, look up. A breeze is stirring. Feel the sun on your wings. Now, you may hear all that and you be like, I don't know how the hell I'm paying next month's rent. I don't care about all this. All I can say is that here we will be working with this in a very practical way with divine source, with learning to embody the divine feminine. And when you learn to embody it, doesn't matter what your gender is, one way or another needs get met. But I think what they were saying that's so critical is the embodiment of that divine feminine. It doesn't exclude the masculine, but we already have enough masculine. That energy of go, 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 get is already in yourselves. What's completely been trivialized and discarded for probably 2,000 years has been the divine feminine. And this is what is reawakening on the planet. And this forum is going to be a major cauldron for how to embody it. Because it's time. So, all right. How to throw that in. Let's go back. Kind of sometimes I think that this whole forum should be changed to the pink flame, because we're going to go back to the pink flame meditation that we were doing last week, and then I'll go on to I'll talk about a little bit of the astrology happening, because today's the new moon in Aries, new beginning. So if you're new and you didn't get last week's call and you're not familiar with this meditation, don't worry, I'll carry you through it. Focusing on your breath. Breathing in, calming, quieting energy. And breathing out anything that wants to go. Breathing in, calming, quieting energy. Breathing out whatever wants to go. Noticing No matter what's happening around you or in your town or in your building or your neighborhood, you can always return to this retreat inside of yourself. And imagine inside of you there is a pink fire, a beautiful pink flame. It is the flame of purifying love. And it is powerful. However you imagine that, whether you see it large or small, there is a pink, purifying flame of love. And it is waiting to help you. And imagine that you can bring that flame through your own body, transforming anything that's ready to go. It can burn away fear, can burn away anxiety, can burn away resentment. At the deepest level, you are that flame. Anything that's reached you, whether through the news or conversation or anything, burn it away now. If you don't need it, burn it away. That flame will do it for you. It's a radiant, powerful, purifying flame of love. And you can even bring that flame through your aura, through the energy field around you. You're a holy being. This flame moves through you and it burns away anything that makes you forget your own holiness. Let it burn away. Like a pink burning bush from the Bible, you are that. Kali Om, Kali Om, Kali Om. Goddess of death and rebirth, transformation, helping you return to your true self, releasing everything you no longer need that's kept you lost and small and frightened, victimized. Kali Om, Kali Om. And then extending that light out, let that flame move out. Wherever it goes, it not only purifies, it sends blessings, it transforms darkness into light. That is your nature. It's like let it go out to anyone in your family who needs it, anywhere it needs to go right now. You can extend it all the way into the whole planet. You are a carrier of this powerful, pink, transformative fire of love. And fear is transformed to love as soon as you touch it with that flame. You're waking up from the dream of yourself as powerless and victimized, and returning to your nature as a transformative fire of love. Fire just pours through you. So beautiful. You can see its color. And then you can bring it in one more time to yourself. Notice if anything else needs to burn away, needs to release. The fire will transform it. And then as you're ready, you can slowly come back in, remembering everything that occurred. So here's the thing. Pluto, the planet Pluto, which rules Scorpio, is that fire of purifying, transformative love. And the reason I'm doing the mantras from Kali, which I love because there's a million of them out there. You could Google Kali mantras and you could get much more complicated ones that are also beautiful. But Kali Om is so simple that I was teaching a friend of mine she has a 2-year-old son, and I was on the phone with him teaching him Kali mantras. He was loving it. He was screaming Kali Om over the phone. And, anyone can do it. And you are calling in from within yourself that fiery power of transformation. Because like I was saying last week, everybody has Pluto in their chart somewhere. Now, those of you that have strong Scorpio or Pluto on the ascendant or Scorpio rising or whatever, if you know your chart, you are the man. This is your time. This is like you're sitting here. You may be scared to death, and at the same time going, "Holy Jesus, I've been waiting for this my whole life. It's time for me to come into my power." So some of you already know that. Some of you, you're not. You're like, I don't know. I don't even want to be here. It doesn't matter. If you use that flame and you use that mantra together, is very, very powerful to get you anchored right away back in the truth. And, before I tell you the astrology, actually, I just had to tell you this story because have you been noticing this, like now that we're all kind of in quarantine, these memories and things come back that you might have completely forgotten about because there's sort of time for the mind to unfurl and time for, it's almost like the subconscious has time to unpack. So I was remembering this morning out of the blue that probably 8 or 9 years ago, it was just when I was starting to write the books, I met this woman. She was a friend of a friend. And she had gone to Peru. She was like a white American woman, but she'd gone to Peru to study with a shaman. And she had paid like an insane amount of money. It was, I don't know what it was. She went for 6 months, and she'd paid thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go to Peru to work with this guy because she had a feeling in her bones that she wanted to triumph over fear. And his basic advertisement was, come to Peru, and you're basically, she lived in a cave for a good part of 6 months. And he, came by every so often and brought her more food and, the whole thing. But mostly, like when I said to her, what did you learn from going through that, is she said, he didn't really talk a lot. She said, but the few things I got from him directly, she said, most things I got from the experience of being in this cave and having to deal with my fears over and over and over and noticing the extent to which my mind was going to drive me insane if I left the present. If my mind started to go forward and go, wow, what if he doesn't show up with the next batch of food or, whatever. She goes, I could work myself into a tizzy. But over time, I started to really trust that he would always show up with the food just as I was running out, and that the things that he was telling her were very basic things, exactly what we're doing here. Like every single thing she said was like, oh my God, that's what we're doing in the, that's what I wasn't in the forum yet, but it was like, that's what I'm starting to write about in the books. And then later, as this forum starts, it's like, that's everything that we're doing about opening, offering, being in the present, gratitude. It's like you probably got a list of tools today from Lucy that are just very basic form tools that we use all the time, and they're not do's and don'ts and what you must do or not do. They're just, hey, if you use these, this will help tremendously aligning with the flow. He basically taught her through the experience of her being in that cave for 6 months how to align with the flow, how to be with what is, and how to open to all the blessings of it. So anyway, I was remembering running into her all those years ago and realizing that the main experience I had from being around her was she did seem to be fearless. Not in any big bravado way, like making a big show of it. She was just enormously present and calm. And then funny enough, about 4 years ago, I ran into her in a grocery store again in Berkeley. I hadn't seen her in years. And it was during one of the rounds of the fires in California when everyone was just in these panics. And again, it's all been prepped for this. They were all like stockpiling and everything with the fires. And I remember seeing her in this line, completely calm, completely still, just holding her space in the line with a few items in her arms waiting to go up. And I just thought to myself, no one has to run to Peru right now with $20,000. You are being given. If you're in the quarantine and you're using the tools that are here, you are being given everything for how to burn away maybe lifetimes of terror. And those are very hard to burn away when things are comfortable. When you kind of have, everything that the ego wants in any given moment, there isn't a lot of need to confront those deepest fears. But when you're in this, they all come to the surface. And so the tools we're doing are really how to do that. And we'll just be supporting you every step of the way with the calls and with what comes beyond the calls and the books and all of it. But somehow did she ever come into my mind? And everybody's getting an opportunity to step into that, which can be growth, something that may have taken thousands of lifetimes can happen in this one life by being in that containment where you really say to the divine, show me how the hell to do this, change me into somebody who can open to this, bless it, be of use, and be a vehicle for divine love, for the divine feminine. You will be shown how to do it. Now, I say all that because it ties very, very much into the astrology, because right now the new moon went into Aries. It's a new beginning. I believe it happened last night at around 2 a.m. California time. Aries is the sign of the warrior. And so, part of what might happen, we'll see, is that in April there could be, you don't have to sit and, watch the news 24 hours to know this. There could be quite a spike in this in April because we're dealing with this new moon is next to Chiron, the planet of healing. It's also square the nodes of the moon. But the other side of that is that the energy of Aries is the warrior, and it's really stepping into this Kali energy, into this thing of like, wow, everyone has an opportunity to step into that inner warrior. And I'll tell you, if you're somebody listening to me and you're like, I feel so far from that warrior, I don't even know how to begin to tap her, get that course that's on the website about the holy battle, because it's the entire course, and also the Kali course. Those two courses together are all about how to embody the warrior. But we'll also do it here as well. But if you want extra support, That's what'll happen. And then I think, again, don't hold me to any of this, but I think it is going to, when you get to May and June and the retrogrades start, and you also get the nodes of the moon moving out of Cancer, which is the planet that actually rules something like a home quarantine. By May 5th, the energy will move to Gemini with the north nodes for the first time in a year and a half. I think it's going to lessen. And then I think we're going to go into a different phase for a while. But for right now, April could be quite an energy of learning how to lean into this and go, okay, God, whatever I have to learn on a soul level that is not only for my soul's highest evolution, but also for the healing of the planet and the evolution of the entire species. Bring it on. People often say bring it on when it's just like, oh yeah, I want to win $1 million, bring it on. I'm like, no. Bring this on. Bring on this opportunity for the soul to grow like rapid fire. Because it can when you're really using the kind of tools that we're talking about. So, okay, let me just see if there's anything else I want to say about that before I go over. All right. Oh, I did want to say one more thing. I was talking to a woman that I know who's a professional dancer, of all things, and she said this thing that I thought was actually very apropos for everybody. She said when you're a dancer, she used to travel all over the world in competitions, and one of the quickest things a dancer needs to learn to do is pivot. Like, you never know when the next turn is coming. And as a dancer, when you really get into finally relaxing into the pivot, you can't think ahead. You can't think, oh, is there going to be a turn tomorrow, because you won't know. And so as a dancer, you become completely in the moment, knowing when to pivot right, when to pivot left, when to be still, when to move. And that to me, that metaphor was just really helpful. Like, you start to trust that in the moment, if you only in right now, and you're anchored in divine source, one way or another, what needs to come is going to come. You can't think ahead, oh, let me work out a game plan for point A to point B, like the grandmother said. That's not going to be available. And I get that that's how patriarchal culture has trained people to think. I need all my plan Bs to make sure that my family and I are okay. I don't think those are necessarily going to be available. But knowing divine source makes them extraneous, because you know in the now, in this holy moment, anchored in divine source, it's like a magical carpet. You will be guided step by step by step in the now to those actions and events that are needed for your own, not only evolution, but for your own safety and protection too. Like, it all works together. So, okay. I could just go on and on about this, but I'll stop. Yeah. I got to rein myself in here so that we get to some of the questions. Oh, by the way, one of the ones I noticed right away was that I think it was Saraswati. She wrote in and she just sent a one-line question, and she said, has this coronavirus come from the Saturn-Pluto conjunction? And, I just want to say, I don't view this from victim astrology. I don't view it like, oh, Saturn and Pluto came together on January 12th for the first time in 38 years, and so they're doing this thing to harm people or make people's lives hard. I know that isn't how she meant it anyway. But the way I do see it is that, and I've been talking about this off and on, if you heard that 2020 astrology course, you heard me say it over and over. the old way. Saturn, Pluto shows the weak link. It shows what's no longer working. So you may have noticed in your own life, we've been talking about this for weeks now, these things are ending. This was before the quarantine and the virus and the whole thing, that things would just end, like a relationship would just fall apart because you're like, wow, when I deal with that person, I'm just exhausted all the time. Or, you know, somebody was writing on the forum page about how, you know, they always had trouble with compulsive eating, and all of a sudden it's just fallen away. Like they're able to just listen to what food they need. So the Saturn-Pluto on a personal level can very much be just cutting away things that you've struggled with forever, and it just suddenly removes it. It carves it away. Well, to me, that Saturn-Pluto is doing that on the global level as well. And I really, you know, I'm sure I'm not the only person saying this. The blight on the planet for a long, long time has been this endless fixation on consumption and getting without any attunement to what the planet needs, to Gaia, to the holy force that rules the planet. So the patriarchal system that has embodied this is in the early stages of collapse. I mean, that's, to me, what Saturn-Pluto is showing. And something, I really believe this, beyond our wildest dreams will emerge from this that is sustainable and that takes care of everybody and not 1%. But it's not going to be tomorrow. And in the meantime, it is going to be very, very powerful to know how to get on the side of Gaia, the earth, the love, and become a servant. If you're a servant of this force, it will take care of you. That's what I know. If you're a servant of the ego, good luck. But being a servant of this force is the way. It's how people lived for thousands and thousands of years before the great sleepwalk came in. Okay. Tell me to be quiet. Let me start and go over the questions. All right. Some of you are probably like, no, Tosha, don't stop. All right. So let me go to this because I know that, you know, this is happening for other people, and it's just a very practical question of somebody who's in the middle of, you know, dealing with the fear about the virus. So let's start here. And then, you know, the funny thing right now about the level of transition we're in is I'm still going through questions from 2-3 weeks ago because we always have so many coming in. And so some of the questions from 2-3 weeks ago, they almost sound from like a different era. But I still want to get to some of them because I think that they're still relevant. But let's go to a very current one. She said, thank you so much for this forum right now. We all need this now more than ever. And I have an urgent question related to the virus that I know that you and others here would understand. I live in Pennsylvania. Yesterday, the governor put in place the quarantine. The schools are closed. And I have an 8-year-old son, and I work about an hour's drive from where I live. When this announcement came, it set off a bunch of panic inside me. Understandable. This is new terrain. I dropped everything at work and left to be near my son, and I was so afraid I wouldn't be able to get back to him. I also went to the store yesterday and bought an insane amount of food for 2 people in preparation for hibernating. I haven't been able to sleep. Last night was especially bad. I've been a total wreck since this announcement came, and no amount of yoga, meditation, prayer, whatever can help me. I'm just frozen by this fear. Now, here's her great awareness. This is so reliable in these letters. Almost always you'll get, many of you get to the point where you get down to what's happening towards the end. And she says, I know this is bringing up past trauma from this life and also past lives. I'm Irish American, and this probably is bringing up ancestral trauma from the Irish famine as well. I took an anxiety medication this morning, but I really don't want to numb myself out to get through this. How can I calm my anxiety and use this as a way to heal my current and past selves? So I want to try to, I'm so glad that you're here. I want to try to just give maybe a quick list of some things that I found have been enormously helpful. You know, not just for myself, because in some ways I feel for myself. I already had 2 years of quarantine when my legs wouldn't work. So this is so far not that different than being stuck in my house for 2 years. But, you know, for people in general, let me give you a few things that I think really, really help. And one of them is actually this: do not underestimate this pink flame. You know, seriously, to do it not just a few times a day, but when you notice the fear coming up and just taking over the body, going back to the flame and really using it to help burn things away. Kali Om as a mantra is enormously helpful. That's why we're using it. You can go on SoundCloud. I think somebody posted it. And on SoundCloud, there's a great recording of 108 repetitions of a different Kali mantra just for release of fear. It's very, very good and very powerful. So that's another one. I mean, there's a million things you can do, but I'm just going to mention some of the things I'm doing or telling other people. One of the things that, you know, I was talking to Christiane Northrup and also another friend of mine who's a doctor. And, you know, this thing with getting 3 grams of vitamin C a day, if you can stomach it, and also 10,000 IU of vitamin D a day are just helpful on a practical level for what the body can use. But equally, you know, both doctors said this, turn the fricking TV off. If you're somebody that's listening to this or getting it on the internet day and night, there's nothing crazier for the immune system. Turn it off. You know, one of the people was saying to me, I'm not even like, I go on for like 15 minutes a day, get the basics, and that's it, which is being made easy right now because I don't even have it if I wanted it, but I don't want it. You can find out what you need in very short spurts and then protect your immune system. So that's part of it. There's also, for some people, CBD. You know, there are these. If you're able to get medical marijuana, there's a mix that's 18-1 CBD to THC, and if you know, it's not about getting stoned or whatever. It has a very immediate effect for many people on the ability to sleep and the ability to calm down because the THC activates the CBD. So that's another one. Being sure to drink enough water. The offering, and even saying, let me open to what my soul has been trying to learn. What is my soul dying to learn from this? And I would say your awareness that, you know, when you're mentioning the Irish famine, and then for, you know, a lot of us coming out of things like the Holocaust or whatever, these energies are all coming up to be put into that pink flame. And, you know, at times, especially when this first started, I was just up at like 3 a.m. for about an hour, just Kali Om, feeling like I was witnessing all this ancestral stuff, panics and famines and all of these things, and just throwing it into that pink fire over and over and over. I felt like I was clearing things for 5 generations back. It just kept coming up, like you become the fire tender. And she's absolutely right. It's not that you're only part of the money book. Is it's saying you're when you're dealing with these fears, they're almost never only your own or only your own from past lives. You're carrying the generational fears, and it's enormously powerful to release that and to work with it. Tapping is really, really helpful right now. I know there's a number of people in the forum that do tapping. Kate Winch is if she hasn't put it up yet, she's going to put on the Facebook forum page. She did a very specific tapping video for releasing fear about the virus, and there's others online. Tapping is a great tool for this. I've talked about this before with diet, and I don't want to get into it that fully so that we can get on to other questions, but you can hear it on 2 or 3 last calls. Ayurveda, things about, that what Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine from India would both say is you want to move towards soothing foods that are soupy, that help the mind calm down. They pacify the mind. So anything you can do with warm foods, soups, stews, you can feel it as soon as you eat it. You feel the body starting to feel nurtured. It's not, you don't want cold foods or ice cream or, all of that. Those agitate the mind and they block the digestive system. And it's funny, that simple thing could make a huge difference. I've been doing something that I've tried to do for years, and all of a sudden it's enormously easy, and some people might want to do this, is I've heard forever about the benefits of intermittent fasting, and I've always wanted to do it, and I never could get it together, and I've been doing it now for a couple of weeks, and all that it means is that I only eat between 11 in the morning and 7 at night, and then there's 16 hours for the digestive system to rest. And the theory, you can Google intermittent fasting. It's enormously powerful. It reduces inflammation in the body, and during that 16 hours of rest, the body has time to repair itself rather than having to focus on digesting food. So as I say, just like some of you, things I've wanted to do forever, and all of a sudden it's like the door just flies open. I'm like, wow, this isn't even hard. So for some of you, that may be a good route. So I'm just throwing a lot of options at you. Some of them are what we're doing spiritually. Some of them are practical, just with diet. Some of them are whatever, medical. You'll be drawn to what your own soul will show you. And I think that's one more thing I just want to emphasize with this, is that everything we've been doing for the last several years here has been around finding the inner authority, trusting that inner authority, no longer denying it. The purpose of this route is to begin to trust the inner authority, that inner divine goddess sitting there saying, finally, you're putting your attention to me, instead of hoping that someone, a partner or a lover or a guru or somebody will save you. This is the time for getting the authority on the inside. So I can throw out all kinds of things at you, and your own being will say, oh yeah, that one really resonates. That one really resonates. That other one, not so much. This is a time for the inner divine to blossom inside of people. That's what comes as the patriarchal order collapses. That order was about the authority being on the outside. This is about listening to the inner knowing, and it's what people used to know how to do. So these other things, I think, can help the mind calm down enough that you can hear. Pranayama is incredibly helpful. I think that once I have an internet that I can be recording videos, we'll do some pranayama videos. But you can find those on your own, too. Just alternate nostril breathing or, working with the breath to help the mind calm down. Okay, enough of that. That's super, just we're with you, and when we get to the end here, we'll also do metta for you. Oh, I guess I do want to say one more thing. When in doubt, feel the feelings. That's the other part of this. None of this has to be used as a pacifier. And sometimes when you're just in terror, and it's totally understandable because this is a very fast change, very fast learning curve. I can keep saying that people who have been here for years have been prepared, but now it's going to become embodied. It will be embodied, and it's a fast learning curve. In the meantime, as fear comes up, I'm all big for feeling it. Often fear will pass through in a minute or two. Sometimes you have to get so scared you let your teeth chatter. You just let them chatter and really, really feel it. And then you go, wow, there's actually something on the other side of this fear. And that's the new life that's birthing inside. All right. We'll come back to you with metta. All right, I want to go to this for a moment because I think there are people that can really relate to this. Hold on a second. I have to take a sip of something. Dear Tosha, in It's Not Your Money, you advise to live from abundance, not scarcity. But now I'm facing a month where the money I currently have won't pay for next month's bills. So I've been thinking of asking my siblings to help me through 1 or 2 months until I hear back from the many jobs I've applied to or see whether I can increase my self-employment income. It's really hard for me to ask this of my siblings for many reasons, including that I've been the black sheep of the family for not having pursued more lucrative science careers or corporate careers. And I don't know how to draft my request without entering into a scarcity mindset myself or provoking theirs. So what are your thoughts? Okay, so I love this because, well, first of all, one thing I really suggest is if you're here and you've read the book, but you pretty much just read the book and you're not all the way down in a deep dive into it, post on the Facebook forum page if you feel like it and ask for a partner to dive into the book with you because the deep dive is very different than just hearing it or reading it once. And if you feel like it, post for say the perfect book partner's picked, and over people have been getting them, and then Lucy will send anybody in the forum for free the outline, the workbook that goes with the money book, and then you start being able to embody it. It goes to a completely different level because you really it starts taking over the body as opposed to being ideas. So that's the first thought I have. But the second thing is that you're saying something really important. When you're anchored in divine source, God can use anything. And so personally, I don't exclude the idea that God, if God chooses, if this divine force of radiant, powerful love chooses, it can absolutely use family members. It can use anything, because what you're basically saying is, God, I'm casting this burden to you. I'm no longer going to tell you who or what it needs to be. I'm simply saying all these fears, all these terrors, everything that I've been carrying on my own back, how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that, I'm now finally open to you showing me. And I'll tell you, about probably 25 years ago, I was in a brief mess for a while, and I had to do exactly that same thing with my older brother. And it was really an interesting thing to do. I knew enough about offering at that point that I asked God to do the writing, and I basically said, something very unexpected happened. I totally understand if you can't. I basically asked God to do the writing, and I gave the person complete permission to not rise to the occasion. And he did. But I think he did rise to it. But I think, and then I paid him back as soon as it changed. But the thing that, to me, is it's this grounding in divine source, where you're saying no person, place, or thing is your source, only the divine, so the divine can use anything. And, you could see it in motion on the forum page the other day, because somebody just posted this beautiful letter that felt divinely inspired, where she basically said, look, I'm here. I don't have the resources to stay. I really, really prefer to be able to be here because everything you're learning is critical to me. So if anybody wants to help me, I'm open to receive. It was so beautiful how she said it. And 3 people rushed forward, and they've each covered a month for the next 3 months. So this woman's covered for the next 3 months. And I felt that it was truly happening because she felt entitled to ask. She wasn't saying how it had to come. And she was even saying, if it doesn't come, it's okay, and I'll take a break from being here. But I would prefer to be here, and if the help is meant to come, please do. And so, people just rush forward, because to me that is how divine source can work. But it happens when you're not making any person, place, or thing the salvation, but you're saying, God, I rest in you. If this is what you want to use, I'm open. I am wide open. And if for some reason it doesn't come this way through my relatives, give me complete faith that you are infinite, utterly infinite and expansive in your abundance, and you can use anything. Anyone, anything, any tool, any route. That's really what the money book is saying. It's not saying, I deserve $1 million, bring it now, God, like most money books out there. It is saying, align with the knowledge that God can use anything. And when you become deserving of that, that's the other part of using the Full Abundance Change Me prayer that we've been doing so much. I deserve to receive. I think that could be very powerful right now. If you need it, take a few days before you write the letter and go back to the Full Abundance Change Me prayer, so that you can be resting in that place of saying, I deserve to receive. Now, you're not saying, I deserve this relative or that relative to cover me. No. You deserve to receive directly from the divine. And if the divine chooses to use one of your relatives, that's great. Or the divine will use something else. It's a critical difference. Sometimes people write to somebody and, they try to guilt trip them, they try to shame them, they try to do this stuff. That's not divine source. You're simply giving somebody the opportunity to let God use them if it's meant to be. And if not, there will be another route. So thank you so much for sending that. I'm sure that letter will resonate for some people, and we'll also send you metta before this is over. Let's see if I can do a couple more before we go to metta. So there's a long letter here, and I want to try to make it more concise, but I wanted to speak to, part of what this is doing that, is hard. I understand this, is some people they're confined in their homes and they're in apartments, which I'm in an apartment myself, here now with my boyfriend too, and they're getting noise from neighbors, or, neighbors are hearing their noise, and, things are getting amplified. So this one woman wrote a letter about this, and she said, I'm in an apartment, there's no soundproofing, my neighbors are mad because they say that they can hear my TV, and but one thing that she's saying about this that I really love is she said the people that are complaining, like I guess one of her neighbors is really, really mad at her right now, and she said that she's starting to add them to her gratitude list so that she's not sending them back anger, but she's actually holding gratitude for them. And, one more thing I would say is that, and I just mean this as a practical Capricorn, it could be that we're entering a time for at least the period of this quarantine, get a headset. Get a headset. You could order one on Amazon. Get a headset so that people aren't torturing each other with, the noise if it's a non-soundproof building. But the other level of what you're saying that's very powerful is, I think it's true, it's an opportunity to not fight fire with fire. Someone's coming at you with anger. You're like, all right, I'm sending you metta. I'm sending you gratitude. Sometimes that shifts the energy right away. Now, one of the things that you're saying here that I really like is you say, I'm not usually an assertive person. I've been a Pisces. I'm a Pisces, and I've spent most of my life playing the victim. So I will not be victimized any longer. And in the meantime, she's saying, thank you. There was a call a few weeks ago. Some of you may have heard it with this woman who had a very negative coworker, and she started thanking God for her negative coworker, and eventually the coworker left. So she says, I'm going to start applying that as well. So that's where I would start. If there's practical stuff you can do, like a headset to mitigate this, please do it. But beyond that, what you're saying is right. Sending the metta, sending the gratitude, moving it out of the victim, saying, okay, God, whatever I have to learn from being here, let me learn it quickly. And when it's time for me to leave this apartment and go to a new place, which is what you're saying you really want, the door will open. It will happen. I feel that with this current apartment myself. I feel like I've just fully embraced it because every force in the world was like, no, Tosha, you're not going to learn what the soul wants to learn from being out on your fantasy farm planting a garden right now. You have something to learn from being in an urban area in an apartment. And I feel like I simply said yes. Since this is where I am, yes. Yes, God, bring it on. Yes. Show me everything my soul has left to learn. I want to know it. I want to lean into it and absolutely embrace it 1,000%. I embrace it. Like that to me is what the soul is waiting to do. So please, if that helps you, anybody, not just this beautiful woman who wrote the letter, but anybody. And by the way, you wrote a note saying that you really wanted to get a reading with David Yarrow Wood, who I've mentioned before, who's quite a good astrologer. He didn't answer you. Just write him again. The poor guy. I sent about 1 million people to him, and I just think he's trying to get caught up. So don't take it personally if he hasn't answered you. Just write again and trust that he'll get back to you at the right time in the right way. He's got a ton of Capricorn just like me, so he's very dutiful. He will get back to you. All right. I think this is a good point to go over to metta. So let's do that, and we'll be able to touch in with the people that wrote these letters, and then we'll send another round of this radiant pink light to yourself. So focusing on your breath. Breathing in, calming, quieting energy, and breathing out whatever wants to go. Breathing in, calming, quieting energy, and breathing out whatever wants to go. You are in a cauldron of transformation, an absolute cauldron of transformation that is turning you into a vehicle for divine love. So bring in this pink flame from the beginning of the call, this pink flame of transformation, and allow it to be in your body. You are a flame of purifying love. And perhaps these conditions are the ones tailor-made to take you across that bridge to remembering exactly who you really are when you're not in a sleepwalk of thinking you're only human. And let that flame move through your body, burning away anything that wants to go, anything maybe from this call, anything that you're still holding on to that you no longer need. This purifying flame of radiant love pours through you. Kali Om, Kali Om, Kali Om. And let's start with this woman who is in the apartment with her neighbors, and just imagine that we're pouring this transformative power of love to her. She is not alone, and she's feeling it enter her own heart, and it's so easy for her to feel love and compassion for herself. In her current situation, we're sending so much love and transformative power to her. And that she's able to just send these blessings. We're pouring them into her home and to her neighbors. That divine order will enter this entire situation. That whatever needs to occur to her will occur, that this victim that has dogged her forever is leaving, it's melting away in the fire of transformation, and her true radiant self is emerging like a phoenix. And she's not alone, and she's able to receive all the love and help from the outside and the inside. Kali Om, Kali Om. And then let's go on to the woman who is considering going to her family for help. And let's imagine that all of this power of metta, this transformative power of this fiery pink love is pouring to her, that she be anchored in divine source, that she trusts one way or another her needs will be met, and that she deserves to be open to receive from wherever the divine chooses to send it. And that if she's meant to write this letter, she'll be shown the words from her own inner divine. But regardless of what happens, the route will be shown because she is open to receive directly from the divine whatever is meant to be used. Whether it's her own business, whether it's jobs coming, whether it's her family, whether it's friends, she is wildly open to receive in ways that she may never have been before. That we see divine sustenance taking over this woman's life. And now we'll send it to the woman who has the Lyme disease and the mobility issues, who's 34, and just imagining that we are pouring the most radiant healing to her. We're pouring healing energy of the highest, whatever is the highest that's meant to occur with her body, that she be open to a miracle. Whatever is meant to occur, that she's able to pour gratitude and love to her own body. That she's able to pour gratitude, love, and acceptance to her own body. And that whatever help is meant to come, whatever advice from Ayurveda, from any forms of healing that are useful with her diet, with any ways of taking care of herself, that she is now wildly open. That hopelessness, whatever she has, any anger, resentment about this, that it's able to be melted away in the fire of this love, and that she become open to receive whatever is really needed. And now we'll send it over to the woman who was in the panic with her child about the quarantine, and we're pouring this love to her. She is just inundated with this pink flame of love from the entire power of this kick-ass group. It's just pouring to her that this illusion of being alone and abandoned just melts away, and that she feels the fire of this love inside of her and outside of her. That all the help she needs to begin to calm down, even a little bit, and open to what needs to happen, that she is open to even being transformed by the inner divine into one who can do this, that she feels courage emerging that she never knew she had, that she feels her own great self emerging like a phoenix from this energy, that she feels strength and divine courage she never tapped before emerging, that she feels generations of fear from her ancestors, from their experiences. It's just burning away. She's returning to her own great power. Day by day, one day at a time, she'll feel all of that support from the inside and the outside, and be available for her child as well. And then one more time, just extend this light out to yourself, bringing it all the way back to yourself. Why don't we make it really big one more time, and we'll just send it all over the planet to anyone who's in fear or loneliness or suffering, whether they are infected or they're just scared, that this light of awakening, of remembering their true nature and opening to the divine feminine, to the true source of sustenance that lives in harmony with this planet and the healing of the whole planet, that this pink flame is encompassing the planet for the healing of all of it, all the neglected nature and animals and oceans and trees, that everything is suffused in this healing, and a new beginning can come at the right time that lives in harmony with what this planet needs to survive, and that you are a vehicle for that light, whoever you are. It is your nature. I'm bringing it back one more time to yourself, just washing yourself in that light. And then as you're ready, you can slowly come back out, remembering everything that occurred. All right. So you can see the direction we're going. And I have to say, this has always been, well, I would say for the last 10 years, this has been the energy of me. And I have to admit, I've tempered it a bit in the forum because I've been trying to speak to more of a common denominator and not know of, who's ready for really the energy of calling in this force of the divine feminine to fully take over. And I'm like, baby, if you're not ready, the outer conditions will get you ready. So I'm not holding back anymore. I'm like, it's okay. Some people may be like, wow, I don't, this isn't my thing. I don't want to deal with the divine feminine. I don't want to deal with, any of this. I like when it was more low key. I'm just going to be who I am. And I think some of you are really applauding because you're like, oh, wow, yes, like bring it on because I'm ready to embody this. So that's where we're headed. New moon, Aries, new beginning, warrior energy. Love yourself, love everybody else. Use that pink flame. It will carry you. It will burn away what's not needed. It will anchor you in what is. This last thing I want to say before I stop is I threw the I Ching. For those of you that know the I Ching, I threw it the other night, and I got hexagram 23 with no changing lines, and it's very powerful. It's a hexagram some people are scared of, but I'm not, because if you know Kali, it's the hexagram that says you cannot change what's happening. There's nothing you can do to change what's occurring. However, if you allow the situation to change you for the highest, it will cut away, it will strip away whatever is not needed, false identities, fears, worries. It will strip it away, and it will take you to your essential nature, so that when you've crossed this bridge and you can leave your home or apartment or whatever, and the beginning of a different time comes, you will be transformed in a way that could have never happened without this. So that's hexagram 23, and I really give that to everybody. Lean into this, as crazy as it sounds. Lean into it. We'll give you every tool here that will help. And it's beautiful watching on that Facebook page the way you're supporting each other. I love it. No one's talking down to each other. No one's being condescending. No one's telling each other how they need to live. That's not what this place is about. People are really nurturing each other in their own unfolding. And I really, really thank you for that. It's so beautiful. So I love you. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.